Earlier this week, the world celebrated the World Human Rights Day. 2024 edition was themed, Our Rights, Our Future, Right Now. It was coming at a very interesting time in the Nigerian life, of course, for obvious reasons. And the question a lot will be asking is, where is the place of justice when we're talking human rights? And what is Nigeria's policy thrust regarding justice? Well, we will beam our searchlight on that, and of course, that will be our focus on this episode of the program. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, and compliments of the season.
My name is Asabe.
Keep watching the policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching the policy with Leah.
We start off the business of the day from the trends table.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has appointed Shamsuddin Babatunde Ogunjimi as the acting accountant general of the Federation AGF. His appointment follows the pre-retirement leave embarked upon by the incumbent AGF Oluwatoyin Madeyi. Bayo Onanuga, special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, who announced Mrs. Madeyi's successor, stated that it was to ensure a seamless transition in the administration of Nigeria's Treasury and consolidate the implementation of the present administration's Treasury policy reforms. As a career civil servant and the most senior director in the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation (OAGF), Mr. Ogunjimi, who is a chartered accountant, brings over 30 years of extensive experience in financial management across the public and private sectors, the statement adds. Taiwo Oyedele, chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, has asked the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission (RMAFC) to join the ongoing effort, including consultation with key stakeholders, to arrive at a generally acceptable outcome of the tax reform bills. Oyedele, in a statement he personally signed, said the moment calls for a constructive and objective approach, focusing on finding a workable solution, avoiding further controversies, and working together in order to move the nation forward. He notes the support of RMAFC for the 4 tax reform bills presently before the National Assembly and the acknowledgement that the reforms are necessary to set Nigeria on an inclusive growth trajectory for the benefit of all. However, he had observations stemming from the recent media engagement by the Commission and, in this case, the proposed VAT sharing formula, stating that it is important to provide some context and highlight the issues which the reform seeks to address. Referencing a pending case by Rivers and Lagos states seeking to administer VAT as a state tax, he pointed out that if the case, which is pending at the Supreme Court, succeeds, states will lose the opportunity to share VAT revenue among themselves, as any revenue generated by each state will be retained 100%. President Bola Tinubu has stated that the interest and welfare of the citizens of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger remain a priority for the leaders of ECOWAS. The president made this remark during a meeting with the president of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who was on a state visit to the presidential villa in Abuja. Tinubu, who is the chairman of ECOWAS Head of States and Governments, pointed out that the leadership of the 3 countries have been reluctant to present transition programs with clear timelines and stressed that wisdom and diplomacy would be key to reintegrating them into the regional body. He said because of innocent citizens who are victims of military rule, the regional bloc will allow free movement and trade. In response, the German President Steinmeier, who had earlier met with the president of the ECOWAS Commission, highlighted that the reintegration of the 3 countries would significantly impact both the economy and security of the West African region. Mr. Ademola Adeyemi Bello has been confirmed as OPEC governor for Nigeria. He has also been appointed as the chairman of the OPEC Board of Governors for 2025. Minister of State Petroleum Resources Oil Henekin Nobobori, who confirmed this via his X handle, stated that the action followed a resolution of the Council of Ministers. Lokobori further stated that this prestigious role underscores Nigeria's leadership in the global energy sector and government's commitment to shaping balanced and progressive energy policies, while extending heartfelt gratitude to Ambassador Gabriel Aduda for his exemplary service as Nigeria's outgoing OPEC governor. The minister noted that his dedication has paved the way for continued success. An electricity blackout is imminent following the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority's NMDPRA's directive to gas producers to cease supplying gas to indebted generation companies GenCos. The National Grid, on its official X handle, confirmed NMDPRA stated that the substantial debts owed to producers had hindered their abilities to sustain operations. It called on gas off-takers, particularly power generation companies, to ensure timely payment for the gas supplied. The federal government and some GenCos are said to currently owe over 2 trillion naira in legacy debts to gas producers in Nigeria. Director General of the Pension Commission, PENCOM, Ms. Omolola Oluwo-Ranran, has attributed the 21.92 trillion naira pension assets from 10.53 million registered contributors in October 2024 to the unwavering commitment to fund safety, prudent management, and sustainable growth. She was speaking at the 2024 PENCOM Media Conference with the theme Tech-Driven Transformation Shaping the Pension Landscape in Abuja.
As of today, we have 8 states out of 36 states that are fully compliant who are making contributions. The remaining states are at various stages. Some of them have passed bills, some of them have not passed. But what we are doing is engaging those states.
She expressed PENCOM's appreciation to the media for their commitment to ensure effective dissemination of information about the Contributory Pension Scheme, CPS.
Asabe Waziri is one woman who spent a very long time pursuing her cause, and now she joins the quest to give Nigerians, or perhaps to give their hope that justice can actually be gotten. Here's that conversation. The world has just celebrated the International Human Rights Day, and of course it has brought up a lot of issues, especially right here in Nigeria. And so the question for most people is, what is the justice policy direction in Nigeria? And is it one that is all-encompassing for all citizens? I have joining me Asabe Waziri. She is the founder of the Asabe Waziri Justice Advocacy Initiative, and she is, of course, going to be throwing some lights into this conversation. It's nice to have you join me, ma'am, for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Leah.
You are a beneficiary of the Nigerian justice system. Could you walk me through really what you found from the system and how it has imparted you to a point you came up with the foundation, or rather the initiative, right?
So, Leah, my journey into justice advocacy stems from a moment where I stood the risk of losing my name, my home, and my property. And had I not have the means for legal representation, I would have lost everything. So it dawned on me the critical need for access to justice, especially for the most vulnerable in our society. Hence, the AWJAI was born, and we have been at the forefront of justice advocacy, legal representation, especially for the most vulnerable in Nigeria.
Well, how long was your battle, and did you get justice at last? I'm asking this question because we know that most cases would spend quite a lot of time.
Fortunately for me, it was 2.5 years, not very long, and then justice was served.
Okay, so when we say justice in the Nigerian context, what is the position of the law? What have you been able to find over time?
So in the first instance, what is justice? So justice is fairness, justice is equality for all before the law. Justice is protecting rights of all citizens without bias, without discrimination. And justice is accountability. Accountability in the sense that there should be proper dispensation of justice to enable social order.
Right, but we've seen quite a number of persons spend very long duration awaiting trials, and one will be wondering that if they eventually work out, is that justice?
No, that isn't justice. Justice isn't merely about punishment. Justice is also about timely dispensation of justice, of course. Today we have about 70% of inmates in our correctional facilities as awaiting trial inmates, ATIs. This doesn't serve well for society.
So when we say about 70% of our inmates are awaiting trials, what are the implications? I mean,
the implications are multifaceted. So you have an overcrowded correctional facility with possibly innocent citizens in there for many years. Coming out, the effects are such that they have lost opportunities, they have lost the right to prove themselves, and ultimately when they are free, those years can be taken back. It doesn't speak well to the Nigerian justice system. So it calls the need for systemic reforms, which is what at AWJAI we push for. We engage stakeholders for systemic and judicial reforms.
There's also that concern about if you cannot afford a lawyer, at what point should I need a lawyer? And if I cannot afford one, what happens?
So it is advisable to consult a lawyer as soon as you identify legal issues or rights violations, because early legal intervention protects your position and stops the issue from escalating. Now the Constitution, Section 46 of our Constitution provides for legal aid. And we do have the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. They are in every state, the 36 states, plus the Federal Capital Territory. They are effective, but I do know that they are overstretched. So for those who cannot afford lawyers, there is the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria, present in all the 36 states and in the Federal Capital Territory. They are effective, but I do know that they are overstretched. Additionally, NGOs like ours provide free legal representation for vulnerable citizens, ensuring access to justice.
So, how long should a person be kept, ideally, before being taken to the courts or set free?
Ideally, the law provides for 48 hours, and if investigations are not complete, you should release such individuals on bail or charge them, to court.
But we see it's the other way around now, that you're first guilty before you prove your innocence. Is that proper?
Yes, so the law enforcement, the police, are being engaged actively. AWJAI, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, also provides for the fact that investigations should be carried out before, citizens are arrested for any crime. You don't just pick somebody up on the basis of a petition. You call people up, you detain them, and then following which you start your investigation. So that's why we call for systemic reforms. We advocate policy change, and we're engaging, these critical justice institutions to ensure that individuals don't languish, rights are violated, freedoms are curtailed in the name of investigation.
Did you ever come, in the course of your activities, you ever come across anyone who was listed as missing and then you find the person actually was being detained, not missing?
Yes, detained at police centers, police stations, without access to lawyers or even their families knowing they are there. Regularly, we make visits to police stations, part of what we do with the Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee, ACGMC. They are situated in the Ministry of Justice. So these regular visits really have put law enforcement, the police, on check. So we're seeing less and less of those violations happen, because they do know that any day of the week, unannounced, the ACGMC with a number of non-profits will show up to inspect every single cell in those police stations. So things are getting better, really. And the police, I believe, are listening.
The ones you've seen so far, like how long did they go missing? I'm asking this question because I know that out there we're going to have some families who are saying their loved ones are missing, but without knowing that their loved ones are actually being detained somewhere.
Yes, so in the last 7 to 8 months during this visit, we haven't had many, but maybe 1 or 2 been detained for so long, 7 months, because they can't meet bail. There was a young man, I won't call his name. He was in one of the police stations here in Abuja for 7 months, but eventually we collaborated with Citizens Gavel, and we got his family in. He was released, and he's home now.
Other people who live outside Abuja, do they get this kind of comfort, or it's mainly in the capital, nation's capital?
Well, AWJAI is based here in Abuja, but we work around the country. We also collaborate with Citizens Gavel or behind bars, so we spread around. Much of what we do is collaboration, really, because one organization can't do it all. There are just so many issues out there. But people reach out to us, even from the United States. We've had so many issues of professional misconduct, maybe a lot with lawyers. So we help them, we tell them where to go to, the LPDC. So we're not limited to Abuja. We collaborate with partner organizations throughout the country.
At what point we won't say that justice is served? Is there anything at all that exists out there that we can call justice?
Justice is fairness. Justice is equality, non-discrimination, impartiality. Justice does exist. Justice is possible, but it requires persistence, it requires perseverance and determination. I experienced justice from my own personal journey through the justice system, and I do know that it is possible.
Okay, so if you're going to look through at a glance, and there's something you want to happen in the system that will be to the benefit of all, what would that be?
That really will be access to justice. Access to justice is at the very heart of every just peaceful and progressive society. Access to justice not only for the rich, not only for a section of our society, but for everybody, especially the most vulnerable. And our Constitution guarantees that, guarantees a fundamental right to justice.
On speedy dispensation of justice, there's the concern that cases go on and on until you lose steam, and of course you're having to pay for legal representation, and if you don't have the funds you might have to just pull out of it. So looking at it on the whole, what is the provision for cases? Because you've alluded to the fact that there's already that time frame limitation, but it would seem like it's not being followed.
We call for systemic reforms. These issues are deep-rooted over the years, starting with law enforcement at the very beginning of the justice system to the correctional centers, arbitrary arrests, detentions, poor investigation, you go to the courts, corruption, delays. So imagine someone in the court system, sometimes for 10 years, you lose your life. It's expensive, lawyers are expensive, people throw up their hands in the air, and at the end of the day, it diminishes public trust in the justice system. And, you know, that doesn't speak well for a progressive society if that's where we want to be.
Tell us about the ideal justice system you would want to see.
Our vision is for a justice system that is swift, fair, and accessible to all, from when citizens are investigated, arrested, charged to court, and cases are swiftly dispensed with.
Mr. Sally, thank you for making our time for this conversation.
Thank you very much, Leah.
Simplify This is next, and from there we head to the market. much we can take on this episode of the program. And don't forget to log on to our sister website. It is www.marketnigeriatv.com. We have all the market details and more there for you. Until we come your way again same time next week, don't forget to leave us with your comments, questions and suggestions to help us serve you better, and that will be on our YouTube channel. It is at Saban Media Services and our various social media platforms. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, and have a beautiful weekend, and God bless Nigeria.